Welcome back to another edition of the Saturday to Sunday Football Podcast. I am Paul Perdichizzi, and thank you for joining me. As always, we are under 1 month away from the NFL Draft. Here at Saturday to Sunday, we are wire-to-wire coverage. We are concluding our TierBuster Series. If you have missed the last 3 episodes, we started with the 2023 quarterback tiers and rankings. Then we went to the 2023 running back tiers and rankings. And then the most recent episode, we dug into the deep wide receiver class and gave you the wide receiver tiers and rankings. And tonight, it'll be a little bit more of a mini episode. We look into the 2023 tight end tiers and ranking show. One of the deeper and stronger tight end classes since we've been doing Saturday to Sunday. Really interesting. Let me first, as I've done in each of the last few episodes, let me share for anybody watching on YouTube what our tiers look like in terms of the different tiers. So at the tight end position, let me bring it up. Here is our tight end tiers. Tier 1 is made up of guys we consider first or early second round selections in the NFL draft, winning their late 1 to second round dynasty rookie picks. Obviously, tight end premium, they get pushed up definitely probably into, late round 1, early round 2, non-tight end premium, maybe more of late round 2. It all depends on how extreme the tight end premium is. If it's really heavy tight end premium, you're talking about maybe being pushed all the way into the top 5 or top 6 of rookie picks. Capability to be a complete tight end or create mismatches regularly as a pass catcher. Tier 2 is a mid-round 2 through round 3 selection in the NFL draft, winning their mid-late round 2 to mid-round 3 dynasty rookie pick. If they're a receiving tight end, they possess several average to above average traits to contribute immediately to the passing game and be at least adequate as a blocker, or displays at least adequate receiving and very good to great blocking capabilities. Tier 3, these are guys we think are round 4, round 5 selections. Late round 3 to round 4 dynasty rookie picks. If they're a receiving tight end, possess several average traits to contribute in the passing game, or at least adequate as a blocker, or displays at least adequate receiving and above average to good blocking capabilities. And then tier 4 are our late round 6, round 7 to UDFA selections. Late round watch list dynasty rookie picks, depth player, possess some average traits that can contribute to a team's passing and their running game. Guys that maybe could develop into be, tight end 3s, maybe some develop into tight end 2s, but a little bit more development needed if they're late round or priority free agent. So let's kind of jump right into it because there is a lot to discuss with these tight ends. Tier 1 for me is made up of 4 guys. It is the guys that we've heard a lot about in terms of guys that could warrant going on round 1. It's Luke Musgrave out of Oregon State. He is my overall number 1 tight end in this class. The combination of size, frame, athleticism, blocking capabilities, 3-down capabilities. I really like Luke Musgrave. I think the ceiling is George Kittle. Is it hard to get there? Of course it is, but I think that could be the ceiling outcome for a guy like Luke Musgrave. Dalton Kincaid out of Utah, pass catching ability, really good pass catcher. I've heard a lot of comps to a guy like Zach Ertz. I think he's more athletic than a guy like Zach Ertz. But the interesting part is he doesn't have that athletic profile of Kyle Pitts or Evan Ingram. So it is a little bit interesting to see him as highly regarded in major draft circles, just because usually pass catching only type tight ends usually have a very good to great athletic profile. I think Kincaid is a good athlete, but not that very good / great, which we usually see for these guys if they're going to go round 1. Darnell Washington out of Georgia, obviously the size, the athleticism, the upside. He's like another offensive tackle in terms of his blocking capabilities. He's a mismatch in terms of the 6'7", the wingspan, the catch radius, using his body at the catch point. A lot to like about Darnell Washington, just scratching the surface on his untapped upside, his pass catching ability because of that Georgia offense being loaded and Brock Bowers being the best tight end in the country. And the Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame is my number 4th guy. Again, I think some people might look at this and be surprised to see him there. Listen, I think the thing with Michael Mayer is when I first watched him, I thought he was a combination of part TJ Hawkinson, part Cole Kmet. And then as I watched more and more of him, and as I watched him in comparison to Musgrave, Kincaid, and Darnell Washington, I continued to come away that I think his athleticism is just average, maybe above average if we're being a little bit generous in some capacity. I think he's more in the Pat Fryermuth, Cole Kmet group than TJ Hawkinson and Cole Kmet. So if he's in that Fryermuth to Cole Kmet, he's a good player. I think even warrants maybe going late round 1 to early round 2 in this draft class. But I do think compared to the other guys, there's less upside with him. Maybe there's a higher ceiling. Maybe he's got the highest ceiling of any of these guys to be a good tight end. I just don't know if he's got the athletic ability to be a great tight end in terms of his athleticism, pass catching ability. He's very good at the catch point. He's a good blocker. I don't think I'd classify him as a great blocker. I think people look at him and the size and the frame and think great blocker. I think he's an average to good blocker. I don't think he's a great blocker. So that's my tier 1. I think I'm kind of set in that now in terms of my order. The only thing I could see is maybe switching Musgrave and Kincaid, but I think Darnell's locked in at 3. Michael Mayer's locked in at number 4. Musgrave is just not a lot of tape, right? He's been hurt. He hasn't been a big part. It's a lot of projecting there. While Kincaid on the flip side, we have tons of evidence of him being a really good pass catcher at the college game. But I do think if I'm shooting for a straight upside here, I think I like Musgrave, and the complete package that he brings, the athletic profile that he brings really, really intrigues me. Tier 2 for me is made up of Sam Laporta and Tucker Kraft. I think those guys are locked in day 2 picks. I think we have 6 guys locked into the first 3 rounds. I wouldn't even be surprised if 1 or 2 more get in there. But I think 6 guys are locked in. Sam Laporta, really good athlete, tough, physical, good route runner, can attack the seam, showed a lot of upside and athletic ability that maybe some people weren't giving him credit for. And he's done a good job in the pre-draft process here, kind of and late in the season, showing people that there's a lot of that athleticism and upside to his complete game. And then Tucker Kraft out of South Dakota State, while he's not the level of prospect Dallas Goedert was coming out of South Dakota State, I don't think he's that far off in terms of his size, his frame, his athleticism, his blocking ability, his ball skills. A lot to like about Tucker Kraft. Tier 3 is really where it gets interesting, because these are guys, who could be somewhere in that round 4, round 5. I think some of them might sneak in to round 3 for sure. And I think if we're talking about some tier jumpers here, I think there's a bunch of names in this mix who could be. So let me start at the top of my tier 3. It's Brenton Strange out of Penn State. It's Luke Schoonmaker out of Michigan. It's Zach Kuntz out of Old Dominion. Cameron Latou out of Alabama. Davis Allen out of Clemson. Josh Wiley out of Cincinnati. Will Mallory out of Miami. And Payne Durham out of Purdue. These are all guys who I really do think that in a different year, these guys would have been really intriguing. Some of these guys are going to go round 5. Guys like, Payne Durham, really good, reliable player. He's going to create separation with his size and his frame and his technique because he's not much of an athlete, but really good ball skills, catches everything, good blocker, good effort. Will Mallory had a great combine, pass catching weapon, good athlete. He's going to be a guy that goes round 4, round 5, and a team looks at him as exclusively, a second tight end in terms of a pass catching role. Josh Wiley, really good athleticism and upside. He's going to be another guy that intrigues teams in round 4, round 5. Davis Allen out of Clemson. The reviews about Davis Allen are really high. Good blocker, good pass catcher. A lot to like about Davis Allen. Cameron Latou out of Alabama, the athleticism, the ball skills, another guy that in a different offense might have produced more. And then the guys, the 3 at the top who I left, and I went this order purposefully, would be the guys that I think we're going to see more than 6 go in the first 3 rounds. I think there's a real chance that Brenton Strange out of Penn State goes in the round 3. I think there's a good chance that Luke Schoonmaker goes in round 3. And I think there's an outside chance that late round 3, we see a guy like Zach Kuntz out of Old Dominion go. I think those guys, really intriguing players. Brenton Strange is a guy who's been generating a little bit more buzz, but we're talking about a guy, average size and frame, but he's got above average athleticism, movement skills, quickness, and speed. He's got good toughness and physicality. You see it in his route. You see it after the catch. And you see his willingness as a blocker, average receiving production, move tight end or H-bot or H-back, almost 6'4", 253, interesting player. I think teams are going to look at him. I think there's a lot of different things you can do with Brenton Strange. So he's a guy that intrigues me. Luke Schoonmaker had a great pro day. he started this year, as many people thought, just a blocking tight end, but he kind of has materialized into a complete player. Very good size, average frame, above average athleticism, movement skills, and speed. He's got quickness. He's got good physicality and toughness to hold the point of attack. He's got good blocking skills. The receiving skills are functional. He's got ball skills and body control. It's a really interesting player there. Luke Schoonmaker is another guy who I think could come off the board somewhere late round 3, if not definitely early part of round 4. And then the other guy, Zach Kuntz, out of Old Dominion, formerly out of Penn State. Rare size, needs to add a little bit more to his frame because he's 6'7", but he's got the frame up 255. I think he could even add a little bit more on. Great athlete, movement skills, quickness and speed. He's got great length and catch radius, the ability to high point, above average to good ball skills, can attack the seam, be a red zone threat. So a lot to like about Zach Kuntz's game. The athletic testing, I think, is going to have him squarely on teams' radars in that late round 3, early day 3 mix. So I think Schoonmaker, Strange, and Kuntz are the guys that really are intriguing after the top 6. If you told me we have 9 tight ends go in the top 100, I wouldn't be surprised. I've heard people say they think there's 11 or 12 starting tight ends. I totally can see that. I just rattled off 9 guys. And then you still have guys like Davis Allen could become a starter, Cameron Latou, Josh Wiley, Payne Durham in the right scheme. So there's a lot of guys there. So, yeah, I think we are going to have maybe anywhere between 9 and 12 guys become starters from this. I think 6 to 9 are almost locks. So really strong class. It's going to be fun to kind of see where these guys come off the board. And then tier 4 is made up of Travis Vokolek out of Nebraska, Noah Gindorf out of North Dakota State, Blake Whitehurt out of Wake Forest, Kyle Patterson out of Air Force, and Leonard Taylor out of Cincinnati. I think Blake Whitehurt would be the guy who intrigues me the most from that group. Average size and frame, average athleticism and movement skills, but he's got good hands, he's got ball skills, he's got body control to create late separation, to win at the catch point. He's got good blocking skills and techniques. I think he could be a depth inline or detached tight end or even an H-back. So he'd be someone in the late rounds there. Here's the thing, though. My tier 3 was really, really large. That my tier 3 was large in terms of those guys from Strange all the way to Payne Durham. Some of these guys are going to fall. Some of these guys are going to end up going in round 6. I don't think we're going to see, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't think we're going to see 15 tight ends go in the first, 5 rounds. So some of these guys might get pushed to round 6 or round 7. I do think there's a real chance that we see close to 20 tight ends drafted in this class. If 16, 17, I think are locks, and it's a really strong class. I think it's got 3 or 4 guys who are going to go in round 1, a couple who are going to go in round 2, a couple who are going to go in round 3, a whole bunch that are going to go in round 4, round 5 that are all really intriguing players. I think you're going to see teams grabbing tight ends who don't even really need one, just because the depth of it and the upside. Like, you look at a team like the Giants, right? They took Daniel Bellinger early round 4 last year. They traded for Darren Waller in free agency. I could still see them being interested in one of these tight ends in that round 4 to round 6 range. And if a guy like Payne Durham falls or Davis Allen or Cameron Latou, like, I could see them adding another guy to the mix there with Bellinger and with Waller, especially if they're really going to use Waller as a receiving option. Mostly they might want another more complete tight end there as well. Really strong class. If I was going to think about guys who could jump up tiers, if I was going to put one guy from tier 2 who could be a tier 1 guy, I would probably say Sam Laporta. But I don't see Laporta or Tucker Kraft moving into round 1. But I think Laporta or Tucker Kraft, both of those guys are not that far off the tier 1 guys. And I talked about the guys in tier 3 that really intrigue me. It's Brenton Strange, it's Luke Schoonmaker, it's Zach Kuntz. Those are the guys that could jump up and be definitively round 3 type selections early to mid round 3. It wouldn't stun me if Strange, Schoonmaker, or Kuntz go higher than we expect. So those would be the guys that I think could make a tier jump from tier 3 into the tier 2 mix. And then I talked about Blake Whitehurt as the guy who intrigues me most in the tier 4 group there of the tight ends. I think it's going to be really interesting to kind of see how this tight end draft kind of comes to fruition. Do we get 3 or 4 in round 1? That's all we've been hearing. Every mock we look at has 3 or 4 going round 1. It's a large number. I think something's going to be wrong, right? Either we're not going to get as many tight ends or we're not going to get as many wide receivers. Both can't be true. It just can't. While it would be amazing for the fantasy and the dynasty rookie draft community, I'll keep saying it, we're not getting 4 tight ends and 4 or 5 wide receivers plus 4 quarterbacks plus Bijan. So something's going to be right, something's going to be wrong, or something's going to be partially right. Instead of 4 tight ends, maybe it's going to be 3 tight ends and 3 wide receivers, but it's not going to be 4 and 4 or 4 and 5. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see. And if any do fall out of round 1, how far into round 2 do they fall? If Michael Mayer falls, are we talking about one of the first picks in round 2? Or does he fall a little bit? If Darnell Washington doesn't go in round 1, who pulls the trigger on Darnell Washington in round 2? Same thing with, Dalton Kincaid or Luke Musgrave. If a team prefers Darnell Washington or Michael Mayer, and those are the first 2 tight ends taken, and Musgrave and Kincaid are there, how far do they fall, right? We saw, last year, some guys we thought maybe we were going to go a little bit higher at the tight end position fall, but those guys weren't generating a lot of round 1 buzz. These guys have been generating round 1 buzz for the entire pre-draft process. So I think it's going to be fun to kind of see how this plays itself out. I love talking this tight end group. Usually the tight end is very boring to discuss. I'm looking forward to, bringing someone else on to share their opinions. I think it's a very unique tight end class, a lot of different takes, a lot of different opinions. It's fun to pick other people's brain in the industry and learn from them and hear their takes, because I do think that's part of the love of doing this, right? How unique it is, how many different takes there are. There's a lot to kind of digest and talk through here. So I look forward to the next month, bringing people on, picking their brain on these players, not just the tight end position, but the quarterbacks, the running backs, wide receivers as well. If you're enjoying this content, please get over to the website, SS Football, fastest and easiest way to get there. Check out the premium content tab, and for $9.99, you get access to all 3 of our premium notebooks. You get the 2023 scouting notebook, almost 100 detailed player profiles, strengths, functional areas, developmental areas, how they win, NFL role, scheme fit, fantasy spin. You get the rankings notebook. It has all our different draft rankings. It has our tier rankings. It has our dynasty rookie rankings right after the draft. It has our Devy rankings. So all our rankings can be found there. And it has our positional dynasty rankings there as well for people who are in regular dynasty leagues. And then in April, a week or 2 before the draft, you get access to the draft projections notebook. As Matt used to call it, the TV guide / Bible of draft weekend. Over 400 players in there, separated by position, offense and defense, a snapshot of how they win and their developmental areas, combine measurements, and athletic testing, sorted by everything we are hearing, listening, and reading, trying to project how it's going to come off the board at each position. And then a tab projecting the guys that we think are going to be the first 32 picks taken, a tab projecting the guys that we think are going to be everybody taken in the first 3 rounds, and then another tab by position projecting how we expect it to come off the board every single pick. We've had a tremendous amount of success with our draft projections notebook. So you get all of it for $9.99, guys. It is the best way to support the show. If you've purchased it in the past, we greatly hope that you consider purchasing it again. If you've never purchased it, but you've been a long-time listener, or maybe you're new to Saturday, Sunday, and just started listening, we hope you consider purchasing it. It's $9.99. It's one fee. You get tremendous amount of material just for $9.99, and it really is the lifeblood of what helps us continue to do what we're doing here. We don't ever want to think about having to put the podcast or anything behind a paywall. We really want to continue to do what we do here, but we do need, some sales of the notebooks to kind of help maintain, our subscription, server fees, and everything else that we do here at Saturday, Sunday. So we hope that you consider checking it out. If you cannot, please, at least wherever you listen to the podcast, rate, review, and subscribe. Get over to our YouTube channel, smash the subscribe button, at least so you're notified when we're recording the podcast. And you can also check out our podcast there as well. So on behalf of our sound tech engineer, David Nakano, and myself, thank you for joining us. And we look forward next time taking you from Saturday to Sunday.